So you think you know your way around a forklift? Well, we're about to put that to the test. We're going to run through 10 critical OSHA questions that, believe it or not, even seasoned operators stumble on. And listen, this isn't about bragging rights. This is about making sure you and everybody you work with goes home in one piece. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Just take a look at these numbers. Every single year right here in the US, about 85 people are killed in forklift accidents, and almost 35,000 more suffer serious life-altering injuries. These are not just numbers on a chart, these are real people.
And here's the kicker. Most of these accidents are not freak occurrences. They almost always trace back to the same fundamental mistakes. Things like ignored inspections, overloaded trucks, and huge gaps in training. And that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. I've got 10 questions for you. On average, most operators get at least 4 of them wrong. Let's find out where you stand.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll hit a couple of non-negotiable safety facts. Then, it's quiz time. We'll finish up with a tough, real-world scenario that ties it all together, and then you can see how you did. You ready? Let's do this. Before we dive into the quiz, we need to make sure we're on the same page about a couple of core concepts. I'm telling you, when these things are misunderstood, it leads directly to those grim statistics we just saw. So you're going to want to pay close attention here. First up is the stability triangle. Now think about a 3-legged stool versus a regular 4-legged chair. That stool is way easier to tip over, right? Well, a forklift is basically a 3-legged stool on wheels. Its 3 points of contact are the 2 front wheels and the pivot point right in the middle of the rear axle. The combined center of gravity, that's the truck and the load, has to stay inside that triangle. The second it moves outside that zone, physics takes over and that machine is going over. It's really that simple. Next up, your certification. It is not a lifetime pass. That 3-year renewal you hear about, that's just the bare minimum. OSHA is very clear that you need immediate retraining for any of these 4 triggers. You're in an accident or even just a near miss, somebody sees you operating unsafely, you get assigned to a different type of truck, or something significant changes in your work environment. Any one of those happens, the clock resets and it's time for a reevaluation. All right, briefing's over, let's get right to it. Here are 10 questions that every single certified operator should be able to nail. I'll give you about 5 seconds after each one. Let's see what you've got. First question. Now think carefully about the minimum requirement and those triggers we just talked about. How often is it?
The answer is at least once every 3 years. That's the absolute minimum required by OSHA. But the key word there is minimum. Don't forget those triggers we just covered. An accident, unsafe operation, a new truck, any of those things happen, they override that 3-year clock and demand an immediate reevaluation. So if you just said 3 years, you really only got half the answer right.
Question 2. Yeah, we just covered this, but it is so critical it's worth asking again. What are those 3 points? That's right, it's the 2 front drive wheels and that single pivot point on the rear axle. This right here is what makes a forklift fundamentally unstable compared to a car. Not understanding this is a direct path to a tip over. That center of gravity has got to stay inside the zone. Question 3. This one's about your daily routine. There are absolutely no excuses for getting this wrong. When do you do it?
The answer is before each shift. Simple as that. And hey, if that truck runs 24/7, it's got to be inspected at the start of every shift. The operator who's about to get on that machine is the one responsible. It is your first and frankly most important job of the day, period.
Okay, let's talk capacity. Picture this. You're picking up a long, awkward load. As the center of that load moves further and further out on your forks, what happens to your truck's safe lifting capacity? It goes down. And not just a little, it decreases dramatically. Your forklift's data plate gives you a capacity that's based on a perfect scenario, usually a 24-inch load center. But the further you move that load center of gravity out, the more leverage it has on your truck. It's like using a longer wrench to turn a stubborn bolt. It just multiplies the force. And that leverage works against you, slashing how much you can safely lift. Question 5 is a big one. A lot of people get this wrong. Who is it that actually gives you the certification that lets you operate a forklift? The answer is your employer, not OSHA, not some random online training company. This is a huge misunderstanding out there. OSHA sets the rules, but it's your employer who has to sign off and certify you. And why is that? Because they're the only ones who can evaluate you on the specific truck you'll be using in the specific environment you'll be working in.
All right, you've picked up your load nice and safe. Now you're on the move, going from point A to point B. What's the correct position for your forks and mast?
The fork should be tilted back to cradle the load and carried low, just 4 to 6 inches off the ground. This does two things. It keeps your center of gravity as low as possible for maximum stability, and it still gives you enough clearance for any cracks or debris on the floor.
Here's a quick one for you, but it is an absolute. How old do you have to be to legally operate a forklift in the United States?
The answer is 18. And there are 0 exceptions to this federal rule. Doesn't matter how skilled or mature a younger worker might seem, it is illegal for anyone under the age of 18 to operate a powered industrial truck. Full stop.
So you're doing your pre-shift check and you find something wrong, maybe a soft brake pedal, a small hydraulic leak. What are the required next steps you have to take?
There are 3 steps, and they are non-negotiable. First, you immediately take that truck out of service. Second, you physically tag it out with the Do Not Operate tag so nobody else mistakenly uses it. And third, you report the problem to your supervisor. Let me be clear, driving a forklift you know is unsafe is one of the biggest violations you can possibly commit.
We're almost done. True or false? You see an extra seat on the forklift, so it's okay to give your buddy a lift across the warehouse. That is a hard false. You can never, ever carry a passenger unless the forklift was specifically designed by the manufacturer to do so, and that is extremely rare. An extra seat doesn't mean it's safe or legal. No riders. Ever. All right, you made it. This is the final question, and it's a real-world scenario. This one's going to combine everything we've talked about: load weight, capacity, and load center. This is where the training really meets the pavement.
Read this one carefully. Your load weighs 6,200 pounds. Your truck is rated for 5,000 pounds, but that's at a 24-inch load center. The load you're looking at has a center that's 30 inches out. What is the only safe and correct thing to do here?
Here's the only right answer. First, you recognize the load is already 1,200 pounds over your truck's base capacity. That's an immediate absolute no-go. Second, you understand that because the load center is at 30 inches instead of 24, your truck's actual safe capacity for this specific lift is even lower than 5,000 pounds. Attempting this lift is the textbook definition of how tip-overs happen. The only correct action is to refuse to lift it and report the unsafe situation to your supervisor.
So, how'd you do? If you got all 10 right, especially that last scenario, seriously, congratulations. You're in a very small, very safe group of operators. If you missed a few, don't sweat it. The goal here isn't a perfect score. It's about recognizing that safety isn't some certificate you just hang on a wall. It's 1,000 small decisions you make every single day, every single shift. Knowing the rules is step 1. For more deep dives into workplace safety, go ahead and subscribe to HSE Study. Stay sharp out there and stay safe.